Introducing our new 1997 Mazda Miata. As you can see, it has some rough spots, but all in all it is a very straight car. I've been looking for one for over a year, for a sporty type car, and when we came across this one, we pulled the trigger on it. It's been sitting for about 2 years, 129,000 miles on the clock. And so our first step was just get it home, clean it up a little bit, see what it needed, but give it regular service and just kind of address those little things and go from there. So Miatas are something I've kind of been interested in, but honestly I've never driven one until this first test drive, and I tested it and we bought it. So it's not a car we're very familiar with, but we are going to figure it out as we go. Okay, as you can now see, the top is up, so it is time to wash it. So cue the music and time lapse. Really impressed with how well the paint has held up considering the age of the car. And I really like this example of the wheels, of how dirty they were before, and then after scrubbing it, how much they cleaned up. Looks really good. And as you can imagine, the inside smelled like it had been sitting in the garage for 2 years. Before even scrubbing, I had power washed these seats. I don't know how many tanks of soapy water I went through, but as you can see, it got so dirty. So after giving the car a good cleaning on the inside and out, it has made a tremendous difference. The smell is gone, the shine is back, and it gives a good jumping off point for this car. We're looking forward to playing around with it and seeing where it takes us. One of the first cosmetic things we wanted to address was the big dent in the front driver's side fender. Replacement parts for this era of Miata are all over the internet, but I wanted to see if we could just pound it out a little bit and see what improvements we could make. Since the car was dinged up a little bit, it did fight us. The plastic inner fender well was bent up a little bit out of place, so it was kind of tricky to get that undone. And there was a bolt attaching the bumper to the fender that was kind of bent out of place, but we were eventually able to get that in, get the fender off. As you can see, the frame of the car is fine. It's just a little bit of cosmetic damage done to that fender, so not a big deal. And unfortunately, the camera was not rolling when we pounded out the fender, but it looks a lot better. There's still quite a bit of rippling, and we can address that more if we want to. But yeah, to me it's okay. One of the first things I wanted to address was what I now know as Miata Hotfoot. And it's basically the shift boots. There's an upper and lower shift boot on the manual shifter. They just wear out, and so it lets in a lot of heat. Apparently it can also let in exhaust and other fumes, and it was really uncomfortable. So I did not replace it with a short shifter. I decided to keep it OEM for right now, and I just wanted to replace it to make it more comfortable drive for me. I didn't realize it actually had an upper and a lower shift boot, so we were struggling a little bit with how to remove the lower boot. I was really close to cutting it off until, we figured it out. Just slides over the top. There's gear oil in the transmission, and it is a closed system, so I used a syringe with a piece of hose on it and just suctioned it out, and we replaced it with fresh stuff. It definitely looks cleaner than what it was. And as everyone knows, the assembly is just the opposite of disassembly. Off camera, we also added a piece of heat resistant insulation under the car, and that's going to help with the Miata Hotfoot as well. I almost forgot to put in this piece of insulation. It probably should be replaced, but for right now it's going to do the trick. And with those two new pieces, my Miata Hotfoot has been completely fixed. I'm really happy with the temperatures, and it really was an easy fix, but it made a huge difference. Right off the bat, we knew that there were probably going to be problems that we would run into right away. We immediately changed the spark plug wires, replaced the fuel filter, changed the oil, and I ran a fuel injector cleaner through the gas tank. But of course, the check engine light came on, so I decided to replace the upstream oxygen sensor. Should be fairly obvious which one is the new one and the replacement, but I just wanted to double check the ends to make sure it was the correct O2 sensor. And perhaps I should have jacked up the car, took off the wheel and done it, but I was able to reach under there and do it without taking that off or checking it up, and it worked fine for me. Yeah, this is not a tutorial, just what I did. Now that I secured the sensor, I just have to fish it up around the back and it just clips right out front. Here you can see the shiny plug around the dipstick behind the engine and clips right on front. And that's it. Now just time for a test drive. Sometimes it takes a few hot-cold cycles for the check engine light to go off, but it eventually did, and it's running smoothly now. Miata is always the answer. My Miata came with this custom busted light. Bothered my dad so much, he gave me a new one. Thanks, Dad. Ta-da! Piece of cake. These are the original visors that came with the car, and to be honest, I really just don't like them. The big warning stickers, they just don't look good. They're really faded. The material they're made out of, I really just don't like this part of the car. And being tall, they actually take away from visibility, so I'm actually open to not using them or not replacing them. I thought for the heck of it I'd check out Moss Miata and see what it costs to replace them. Perhaps they had different styling, but yeah, they didn't have anything I liked. The blanking plates were about 12 bucks. I could get a replacement one for $35 and it would be clean, but still the style that I don't like. So I went to Thingiverse, which is like a library of different 3D printed things, and gave it a look. And all you have to do is search Miata. They have tons of things free, and I found some blanking plates. These are not the exact ones I ended up printing, but I printed something along these lines. And as you can see, it turned out almost exactly like the one from the picture earlier. So I'm really happy with it, just to replace it, just to fill those holes. I also want to print a GoPro mount, and from Moss Miata, 45 bucks, that is to me too expensive. So I hopped back on Thingiverse and looked for different things I could print. So this is almost the same copy as the one that they have on Mazda Miata. I really think it's good, but I'm not going to print this one because directionality, it won't be pointing towards the driver, and so I'm going to end up finding one that I want and then maybe customizing one, but that's just for the future. I'm happy that I got it plugged, and yeah, that's good enough for now. Almost every Miata I've seen has had a broken dipstick, and mine was no different. So I 3D printed a top, and now I'm going to attach it to the dipstick. Even though the fit is nice and tight, I'm adding some epoxy just to keep it from wiggling loose. So the dipstick is installed and looking good, but man, this engine bay is looking nasty. It's gonna need a deep clean. Cleaned up so nicely. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. Up next, let's see if we can do something about that valve cover and maybe that heat shield. Stay tuned. Now it's time to take care of that valve cover and heat shield. Ta-da! With a snap of the fingers, we got a powder-coated valve cover and a high-temp painted heat shield. I love the look of this blacked out engine bay. The before and after, and as you can see, it looks so much better refreshed. I know a snap of the finger makes it look easy, but here's how I actually did it. It's actually quite an involved process. So after getting all these bolts out, it turns out you can't remove the heat shield without removing the air intake. I recommend if you're doing this at home, do this first, it'll make your life a lot easier. The valve cover was much more straightforward. Do all the bolts on top, and then there's a couple bolts behind, and it's good to go. have to get the valve cover clean so that the powder coat paint will stick to it. And with a little moving magic, it is good to go. Back on the car. Here's the difference in the heat shields, before and after. Man, that looks sharp. There you have it, folks. The engine bay is clean, valve cover and heat shield are looking good, the car's looking fresh. $52,074.